Hello everyone and welcome to a new play and chat video. It's been some time since I've done one, so I thought, what the hell, I'll kick off this week with something different, because the past few videos have been pretty solid on the retro games, and the channel isn't just for retro gaming, it's a channel for all types of video games, and I just think the retro side of things has taken over a little bit of late, so I am going to try and mix it up a bit more. I've got an absolute stack load still of retro games to do videos for, so there is still going to be plenty of those coming, don't worry about that, but I just wanted to do something a bit different. I'm playing Gears of War 3 Horde mode in the checkout level, and this is probably, if you want to rank your character up in Horde mode, this is probably the best level to do it, because the map's quite small and there are a couple of really decent choke points that you can create as well, and they tend to be around the areas where you do like your little home base. There's a nice setup just behind where Baird is here, if I turn around, which I'm not going to do anytime soon, but behind where I'm at is a really good choke point, which I'm doing my best to ignore, but I will go in there. We'll be going in there shortly, because in there you can set up some wire fences, a decoy, and you also get to set up a turret, so you get a nice little area where you can set up some jolly nice things to take out the locusts and the lambent with. You can also get the silverback, and if you get the silverback in there, just pop him in the middle behind the counter and you get a really good killing field. There's basically nothing can get right up close to you unless they happen to be one of the banshees, which I hate with an absolute passion on this level, because this is the main drawback of playing on this. If there's a banshee about, you've really got to be on your toes, because it's a small level. There isn't really that many places to go. As you can see here, what I was saying, this is the bit what I was saying about the choke point. Once you get enough credits, you can set up a pretty good place to start casually hosing down the locusts and the lambent en masse. Just be aware that should you come across one of the banshees, which you will, you've got to be on your toes and you've got to keep moving as well. Don't rely on the silverback to get you out of that type of situation, because the banshees, the standard ones, are the worst, funnily enough. The lambent one as exposes a heart which you can shoot, but the standard ones don't, and well, bullets just tend to bounce off them. You need to set them on fire, so you need to get out of your silverback and do a runner when they come along in the boss fight. I'm playing here as what they call the classic Baird character. This is Baird that I think was out of the original Gears of War, and he's my favourite character in the series. I like the fact he's sarcastic. He has a pretty real viewpoint on what's going on of all the characters. He's probably the audience's... If it was a film, he would be the character that the filmmakers usually say is the one that the audience would relate to the most. You know, he sort of sells it how it is. He's pretty much always got something sarcastic and harsh to say about people or the situation, but he usually calls it straight down the middle, and I just really like him as a character in the game. I think he has some really good lines. It's kind of difficult when you're talking about a video game to talk about scripts and lines, because they don't tend to be what focuses on the game, but of all the characters anyway, his is the one that I think, I like the best. I think he's Poy the Bum.
Oh, what's the matter? I'm feeling
Seems
good.
to me to have more invested in creating than the others, because the others are pretty straightforward characters, but you know, his isn't. He's a bit more complex, and I kind of like that. The Horde mode I am hopelessly addicted to playing. It's something you can play online with your friends or whoever, with a bunch of randoms if you so choose, but you can also do what I'm doing here and playing it solo. Obviously it becomes considerably more difficult when you're playing it solo, but it also makes you a better player, I think, as well, for when you come to play it online. And I enjoy the fact that you can get a game mode and enjoy playing a game mode without having to log in online. That can be a pain in the arse, especially if you get a group full of morons, but I'll cover that a bit more later in this chat video. It is one of my favourite game modes that I've come across. I loved it in Gears of War 2, but they've improved it in Gears of War 3, and I absolutely adore it. I just think it's fantastic. The Beast mode is very good as well. I may do a video playing the Beast mode, because that's where you play as the Lambent, and it's not a simple copy as such. What Epic did was they changed it up so it feels like a completely different game mode. It's not just you running around as the Lambent and the Locust shooting humans. There's a different tactical element. You're actually against the clock in that you have to kill so many humans within a time period, and it'd be easier for me to do a video to show you that if you've never played it than it would do to describe it, but it does feel considerably different to this game mode. So anyway, to record this video, I used a new video capture device that I've already used a couple of times. One was to do this. Oh God, I've forgotten what the hell it's called now. But I did a couple of videos. One was the $1 zombie game, the Modern Warfare 3 special ops mode, and it's not Starbreeze, Star something or another. I did another one with that, and I thought I'd actually solved the problem, or at least found what was causing the weird sound issues. Sometimes the sound seems to run really slow, and other times it speeds up. And I thought I'd cracked it, because it would appear that I have to use, because I haven't got any Mac drivers for the Roxio video game capture device thing. They've only done it for the PC. I have to use a PC, and that has the your run-of-the-mill antivirus software. And I thought at first that the antivirus software was taking up too much of the system's resources and was causing a slowdown issue. And in the recording of this video, things seemed to be okay. When the video started out and it was started to stutter, and that usually is an indication that the sound's going to go wrong as well at that moment. It starts to jump about a bit, and so I turned the antivirus settings to silent, which is effectively disabling it, and it stopped stuttering, and I thought, well, job's a good one. I've fixed the problem here, and off we go. But it doesn't seem to solve the audio problem, and that is a bit disappointing. As I say, it's running on a Windows laptop, so it's not the fact that I'm trying to shoehorn it onto the Mac in any way, shape or form. It is running on a native Windows laptop, but the sound still appears to be a problem. So you'll just have to bear with me for this and a few of the other videos that I've recorded, because I've spent all of Sunday afternoon recording nothing but gameplay videos, and by God, it can be a lengthy process. I mean, I had my iMac in the spare room uploading the Jurassic Park video that I did, and that seemed to take all day. And then in the other room I was recording footage using the Roxio device on my laptop where my consoles are, and that took all day to do. Not just so much recording the actual footage, but it's the processing it afterwards. The other annoying thing with the Roxio is because I want to be able to go away and edit it on my Mac, I don't particularly want to do it on a laptop. I have to essentially save the footage save it as a different file type, and that takes ages to do. I mean, this isn't in high definition, it's not a high definition video capture device, but it takes a bloody age to do, and you just sat there, and I've got two computers tied up doing two different things, and it's a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. But after I recorded all of the bloody video footage, and then the Roxio device then decided to inform me afterwards that, oh, there's a new version of the software that's been released as a patch, and the patch supposedly addresses some of the audio issues. So needless to say, after spending 4.5 hours of an afternoon sat there doing nothing but recording footage and converting it, for that to pop up at the end of it, I was like, right, okay. Sorry guys, you're going to have a few videos where the background audio of the game's going to sometimes sound a little bit dodgy. It is only sometimes, but there's no way I was going to go back and re-record all the footage and reprocess it either. I just, I'm not doing this to be professional. I'm not getting paid for this, and that was that. So you'll have to bear with me. I'm sorry. You'll just have to bear with me for a few of these videos. Hopefully the patch will have addressed the sound issue. There was a lot of things on the Roxio website about it, and some of the potential workarounds just really usual nonsense. There's obviously a problem there because other people have got it, and I'm not going into the BIOS of a laptop and changing motherboard settings and stuff like that. I will just get a different capture card if it doesn't improve, because that was one of the things it was telling me to do, and I'm sorry, that's bullshit. Guys, if you're making a piece of hardware and your software drivers are shit, you have to deal with that. You can't have people messing about with... People should not be messing about in the BIOS of a laptop just because your capture device has audio issues. My other capture device, my Elgato video capture device, it doesn't have any audio issues whatsoever, and I've used that to record a hell of a lot of my video footage with. The reason I like the Roxio is because I think it gives a better video quality. I think the video image is better quality than the Elgato, which records in you have to use standard definition cables. This is where it gets a bit confusing. The Roxio capture device isn't a HD capture device, but you can use your better quality HD cables to do your capture with. So the actual basic image quality is better. When I use the Roxio, I have to use your composite cables or S-video, so the actual original video image isn't as good, if that makes any sense at all. But trust me, that is the reason why I prefer to use the Roxio. It's not too bad because I can only use the Elgato capture device for doing the retro gaming stuff, simply because the connections that are on the Mega Drive device are just it's just an audio, a white audio cable and a yellow video cable. So there's no real way I suppose I could use that with the Roxio device. Well, I might be able to, but it's a lot of unnecessary messing about because it's not really going to make that much difference. God, I'm rambling on with this here now. So yeah, please just bear with that for the time being. This is a work in progress. If all else fails, then I'm going to try a different capture card device, because frankly, you know, naffed up audio, it is the fault of the capture device. It is not the laptop, it's not me, and I'm certainly not messing around in the BIOS, what have you, or messing around changing different settings when everything else that works on the laptop works fine. So that's that one. The other thing I wanted to chat about, and it's yesterday, which was on the Saturday because I'm recording this on the Sunday, I woke up and I thought, right, I'm going to sort out the cupboard that I have a lot of my video game stuff in, because I've been buying extra Mega Drive cartridges and PlayStation 1 games. The space is starting to become a big issue. So I pulled everything out of the cupboard, which, you know, is essentially, it's a wardrobe. In America you'd call it a closet, cupboard, whatever. And I was astounded really by how much. The problem I have is I'm a hoarder of packaging. I usually have a philosophy that if I buy anything electrical or anything like, you know, game joypad or anything like that, what I tend to do is I tend to keep it for usually I would have kept it for about a week or two after, just to make sure that it works okay. Obviously, for big expensive stuff like games consoles and handhelds and stuff like that, I keep the boxes permanently. But for peripherals, which you're going to be using, there's to me there's no sense in keeping the boxes for them. But you know, above and beyond like a week or so, a week or two, just to make sure, as I say, that they work okay. I opened up and I was emptying stuff out of this cupboard, and there were boxes upon boxes of stuff that were years and months old. I mean, I've not bought any peripheral devices for an awful long time, but there was an absolute mountain of boxes in there, and I think the last time was probably last year when the 360S come out. I bought some batteries and cables and so on and so forth, because I went from the standard 360 Elite, which was a bit ropey, to the 360S, which was supposed to be quiet and was supposed to be better, and well, the jury's still out on that one as far as I'm concerned. I am not 100% certain that's the case. It's quieter certainly in its standard operating, but it's just sounds the same as a bloody aircraft carrier. I know, aircraft taking off an aircraft carrier when you put a disc in it. Whether or not that's mine on its way out or whatever, I don't know. But yeah, so I decided, right, I'll get rid of all of this packaging. And the one thing that I noticed, and this is something that I find really bizarre, there's a big emphasis that's always been put on companies to cut down on the packaging, and there's a huge emphasis in terms of, you know, the how green is a particular company. Now, you know, Microsoft, Sony and Nintendo usually get moaned at, is probably fair to say. And it doesn't surprise me, because Microsoft in particular, I think they're probably more guilty of it than the other companies. Jesus Christ, there's so much packaging with what they actually dish out. It's unbelievable. I mean, initially they used, when the 360 first come out, they used this I don't know what they call it. It's that plastic moulded crap that shreds your fingers. You have to use like you know, a box cutter knife, or a Stanley knife, or a sharp pair of scissors, some, you know, instrument of mass cutting in order to get into the damn things. And when you did that, you create then a sharp edge, which usually is nicely convenient. To not give you a paper cut, that would be bad enough, but the cuts you get off these plastic things are 10 times worse. So you have to almost perform surgery in order to remove the contents of the box if you don't want your fingers cutting open. And thankfully they seemed to drop that idea, because it was a real pain in the arse. I can't imagine anybody liked that packaging. But instead of simplifying it, they've actually made the packaging not more complicated to get stuff out of. That bit's a lot easier now, thank God. But they've gone from this moulded plastic to like a weird hybrid of moulded plastic and cardboard. They still have the moulded plastic inside the cardboard box, but what they do now is they have a clear plastic thing to display what the actual item is, and then behind that they have like an opaque white plastic thing that's a different type of preformed plastic or whatever that sits behind it. And then they have the instruction books, which just always makes me laugh, because they have instruction books for joypads, they have instruction books for cables, they have instruction books for the bloody batteries and the play and charge kits. And they have, it's like they're quite thick, because they have it in virtually every language known to mankind. It's not region specific, it seems, it's just in every language that's known to mankind. And so you get like 3 or 4 of these quite thick little booklet things to tell you about the license, to tell you about warranty, to tell you about how to use the frigging thing. I mean, I'm not being funny. If you need an instruction book on how to plug a rechargeable battery into an Xbox 360 controller, you shouldn't be using the console. You know, all of that can be covered by a very simple diagram on the back of the box. Nobody should need to read the instruction books for that. If you do, you're too stupid. You should not be using the games console. You know, why do you need an instruction book with it? You know, everything that all of these instruction things are printed on could all be put on the back of the box, and that would save probably half an Amazonian rainforest that it currently takes for them to do this. And then you've got all of this elaborate packaging inside, you know, the different plastic, the nice shiny cardboard box thing. And you know, ultimately what is going to happen with this stuff is it's going to get binned. Now, I can't speak for other countries or indeed other places in the country, but where I live, you have to separate all of your waste into different recycle bins. There's different coloured bins. I think they're going for the entire colour of the rainbow thing with all of these different bins. And anyway, you have to separate them out. So rather than just chuck the packaging in the bin, you've now got to separate cardboard's got to be separated from plastic, and then these different forms. You know, it's not just paper and card, it's cardboard if it's got this on it or that. It's an intricate pain in the arse, basically. So it now becomes, a project when you've got quite a few of these things to throw out. You know, you have to start separating everything out, and it becomes a right pain. And in the process of doing all this, I just kept thinking, why is it necessary why can't you just have like it in a cardboard box with a picture of what it is on the front? Because I understand they're trying to make something visually attractive to encourage sales, but think about it, right? How many people are walking in a game store casually decide to buy cables, or would casually decide to buy a spare battery, or would casually decide to buy a controller? Just how many people would actually do that? You know, oh, that box has caught my eye, that's a nice looking box, I wonder what it is. Oh, it's a controller. I think I'll buy it. There might be people out there that do that, but it's certainly never the level that my brain has worked at. I've only ever bought a controller if I've needed one. I've only ever bought cables if I've needed them. And I've only ever bought battery packs and other bump, you know, the chat pad. I bought that because I needed it. I didn't buy it because it caught my eye on the shelf, you know, a visually appealing box. I was specifically looking for it. So I don't really get the visual side of it as well. I mean, that's what a lot of companies say about their packaging. It's designed to sell a product. I just don't see that, and I know I'm probably wrong. I don't work in marketing for a reason, because I think it's bullshit a lot of the time. I just think it's ridiculous, and you know, that's kind of how I feel when I see all this packaging. I think you could just have it in a cardboard box with a picture of what it is on the front of the cardboard box, and you know, just have the very basic packaging inside. Cardboard's easy to recycle. You don't need any of this plastic crap. I mean, I don't know if that can be recycled. I imagine with some difficulty, because it's plastic at the end of the day. I mean, cardboard, you can just mulch it down and reconstitute it, but I don't know how. I mean, wouldn't they melt the plastic down and reconstitute it? I don't know. But certainly, you know, you don't need it. And I was thinking about how much it must cost as well. It must cost a small fortune, all this packaging. I mean, I know it's bought in bulk, and therefore, you know, you get your usual bulk discounts, but it's still got to cost quite a considerable amount of money at the end of the day. And we're paying for that. That cost is passed on to the consumer. And I would much rather have it in a simple cardboard box, or even more, and it might look really ghetto and cheapskate, but I don't care. I'd like it even more if they put it in like a little plastic bag with a cardboard thing stapled on the top telling you what it was. You know, any of this nonsense. I mean, let me just get this straight here. I'm talking purely about peripherals. I'm talking about joypads, cables, batteries, headsets, that type of stuff. I'm not talking about the actual consoles themselves. You know, I understand that packaging for games consoles is led by keeping the product safe while it's in transit, and I understand that. But with peripherals, that isn't really as much of a problem, because essentially they are designed to be rough housed anyway. But when the stores order these devices, they come in an even bigger box. Okay, they come in a larger box, and that has all the transportation protective stuff on it. I mean, if you buy a joypad and it's in one of these plastic bag things and you drop it on the way home and break it, well, that's your own fault. You know, you have to, you know, you should take care of what you're doing. You know, that's not how packaging should be viewed as. You know, packaging should be as minimalist as possible, because ultimately at the end of the day, you've got to throw this crap out. And believe me, I had a mountain of this crap to sort through, and I just can't believe that in an age where there's all of this cost cutting going on, there's all of this, you know, it seems that people's jobs are less important than packaging something like a joypad or a chat pad that needs very little packaging, yet seems to have all of this stuff tagged onto it. I don't know, I think that's kind of weird. And if there was, you know, I would love them to stop doing it, because it's a pain in the arse. But anyway, that's enough of that. What I finally wanted to talk about is a subject I've not really got involved in, and that is when you play online against random people. There's an awful lot of videos out there that detail various horror stories that people had of people that they've come across online that have, you know, said something, you know, pissed them off in some way or another, and it isn't pleasant. I've been on the receiving end of it myself, so, you know, I pretty much know what it's like. But one of the things, I mean, playing online on the PS3 isn't as bad, because the communication on the PS3 is absolutely shite. It's shocking, and so a lot of people don't even bother playing with comms anyway on the PS3. It seems to be something that I won't say is more prevalent on the Xbox. I think it's just because the comms are better on the Xbox. More people use the headsets. More people use, the party chat or the in-game chat. It just seems to be more native. I mean, when the console first came out, I think everybody was doing it. It probably died off a little bit, but that functionality was there from day one. I mean, hell, even the console came bundled with a headset, so it wasn't as if it wasn't as if it was an add-on that you had to buy. It came with it, and I think that's probably why I'm using the Xbox. It's probably a case in point, even though that really isn't fair, because it's certainly not just a problem exclusive to the Xbox. But I know of a lot of people that have complained about the way that they get spoken to online. There's girl gamers complain about the well, it is abuse that they get online as well. And it's quite pathetic. There's never really a concerted effort on the part of either Microsoft or Sony really to clamp down on it. I don't know what they could do, apart from employing more people to moderate games, random games that's going on. And essentially, do we really want that? I mean, Christ, we live in a big enough police state as it is. Do we really Xbox Live and it is moderated, I think, sufficiently well. I would rather than focus more on the cheats than on people who are coming out with silly things and what have you. But what I do is I just don't put my comms up with these people at all. I just don't communicate when I play online with random people. There's no need to. I know there are a lot of games where you might think, well, you do need to if you're playing Battlefield or something like that, but against getting insulted and against getting abused, if it bothers you, I would simply just switch the comms off. Switch them off. Don't allow these idiots to spoil your enjoyment. And I know it sometimes sounds, you could say, well, that's easy to say. But sometimes taking the easiest path is also the best path to take. It certainly worked for me. I mean, I got fed up of it. I thought it was pathetic. And in the end, although it didn't really bother me as such, I got tired of listening to it. I got tired of listening even when it wasn't directed at me. I got tired of hearing other people abusing other people in the games. It's not enjoyable. It's not even funny a lot of the time. It's just pathetic. And so I just took that decision that I only ever put comms up with people that I know. I'll set up my own party or join somebody's party if I know them, but I certainly won't ever put comms up with random people. And it works for me. I block the comms completely, so I don't even get it through the television. I certainly don't get it through my headset, my headphones if I have them on. I'm not interested in it. And to me, I know it can take away something from a game, especially games where, that are squad based, and communicating with your squad members might be viewed as being all important. But I think that if you want to play the game and don't want to have to endure all that crap, that is the way to go. See, unfortunately, they're never going to go away, because a lot of the time they're just silly kids or the young adults who've probably had too much to drink or are probably, mentally incapable of being able to hold a conversation with people without insulting them. you know, you're always going to come up against these people. It doesn't matter what things are put in place, you know, what things Microsoft put in place or Sony put in place. You're still going to be faced with the same problem. You know, listen, the vast majority of gamers out there suck. Okay, you know, if you're really good at games, you're in a minority. That has to be said. You are in a minority if you are really good at video games. I mean, I've been playing for years and I'm crap. You know, I don't know how people get as good as they do at some games. All I can say is they must play that game solidly 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, because, you know, they must know that game inside out. I don't have the time, you know, I don't have the attention span to just sit and play one game, you know, for all that time, possibly with the exception of an RPG, like Skyrim or something like that, you know, which I can easily spend a few days playing. But, you know, there's always somebody out there who's better than you, and I think a lot of it is a defense mechanism. Usually the people that do a lot of the shouting are actually crap at the game themselves, and they're just trying to deflect that away. It's the old playground mentality that comes shining through. That, you know, if they target somebody else, everyone else will think that they're not sucking as bad or it's not their fault. But usually you find when the statistics screen comes up at the end, the person that's been doing most of the yakking is usually the person that's either only a couple of places above you or even a couple of places below you, but they're certainly not exactly, you know, world champion online video game of the year candidate, you know, far from it. And I just dealt with, I mean, and to me, I just dealt with the whole issue of all of that, like I say, just by just not communicating whatsoever. Just, if someone's pissing you off, block the comms from them. It's the quickest and easiest way. They can't do any, you can't hear them and they can't hear you then. And if you block the comms, they can't, and as far as I'm aware, unless it's changed, they can't message you or anything like that. So they essentially are just there. You take away the ability that they have to upset you, and they just, or alternatively, you can always just join another game, join a different game. But you know, you are going to come across it, and I don't like it. I think it's pathetic, but that's certainly been the only way that I've been able to effectively get around the problem. I think waiting for some sort of you know, Microsoft, you know, live enforcer to come along, or, you know, I don't even know, do Sony have live enforcers for their online services? I don't know, I never really hear anything from it. You don't really hear anything from Sony at all in that capacity. I think they don't care, they just put the service out there and let whatever happens happen. Yeah, Microsoft do like to police their stuff, and I don't want more of them. I don't want more policing. I think that, you know, you do, sometimes you have to take care of these things yourself. You know, you just have to, not take the law into your own hands, but you have to police it yourself. Because if you keep doing it, then that person eventually is going to run out of people to insult, and they're just going to stop, because they're not, they react, they're people like the trolls on forums and stuff like that. They just react to stuff. That's what they get off on, is you giving it back to them. That's what they're looking for, is somebody to engage. So if you ignore it, they don't have the power anymore. So anyway, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and please stay tuned for more to come.